Welcome to the High Performance Interviews. Today I'm joined by Julie Kaanapu, all the way from Oregon in the USA. Welcome, Julie.
Oh, thank you so much. So nice to be here. Thank you, Lucy.
You're welcome. I'm really excited for our interview today.
Me
And
too.
before we get into that, I'd love to just share with our audience a little bit about your background so that they can get a feel for who you are and what you've done. Now,
Sure.
Julie has over 25 years in the health industry, from physical therapy, implementing medication management protocols, coaching clients to achieve their health goals, to assisting physicians with training and certification programs focused on optimizing hormones to improve patient outcomes and reduce risk of disease. She has many degrees, including a bachelor's degree in sports medicine and biology from the University of Oregon. And her passion is to teach women over 40 who are struggling to be heard or understood by their doctor how to reduce symptoms of FLABB, which stands for fatigue, low libido, anxiety, brain fog, and belly fat, without unnecessary medications, so that they can feel healthy and vibrant to live an improved quality of life. So if that sounds like you, then this interview is definitely here for you to take notice of. So, Julie, with all of that, I would love to hand over to you to share some of your background, because you've got a huge conundrum of experiences there. So just give a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, I will. Thank you so much. It was so nice. So, as you just stated, my background is pretty extensive and fell into learning more about optimizing hormones, not normalizing them. And there's a term where a lot of physicians will talk about your labs are normal. However, most women don't feel normal. They're going to the doctor because something's off, and yet they're told they're normal, or it's all on your head, or you're not a spring chicken anymore, or it's part of getting older, it's just part of aging, or you're a little depressed and here's some medication. But they don't feel like they need to be on this medication, and it's just frustrating. And after doctor, I've been hearing this feedback, the same thing. And so as I've learned more about the power of hormones and the not only feel good benefits, but what's called the secondary benefits, meaning reduction of Alzheimer's and dementia, the reduction of heart disease, the reduction risk of breast cancer and reoccurrence, the reversals of osteopenia and osteoporosis, and then also the reduction and or the severity of prostate cancer when your hormones are optimized correctly. And now my mom was diagnosed with dementia. We moved her into memory care. And 3 months later, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. So both of my parents went decades without hormone optimization, certain supplement optimization. And wow, if I've known back then what I know now, could my parents had a different outcome? Because I know there's ways to reduce dementia. I know there's ways to reduce cancer. And I'll never know. My dad had already passed away. My mom's declining on a hospice. But it's never too old to feel good and feel better. But I don't want anybody else to wonder what or how I'm going to age, or maybe leave their kids, behind taking care of them. So I'm all about education and passion to empower women, especially men too, on knowing their options, knowing that they get to be in control of their health and wellness. And it's all just about education, knowing your options. And then you get to choose which doctor you want to work with and what you want to do for your health and well-being, for improving quality of life as you age.
Yeah, so you're literally empowering women to understand through education, because they're not getting that from their doctors. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And it can be, I know, very frustrating when a doctor's saying, there's nothing wrong, or it's in your head, just like you were saying. But
Mhm.
you know your body.
That's right.
Especially as a woman, you're very in tune with yourself. And
That's right.
so being able to empower women, what would you say is the optimum age to start looking at something like this, Julie? Because uh, from experience, I hear it's when they're getting older, I know you're saying over 40, but sometimes it can be into their 50s when they go, oh my goodness, premenopause, menopause, what are my hormones doing? Would you say
Mhm.
it's a long time before that, like a decade or 2 decades before that?
That's such a great question because it's such a myth of thinking when is the right time for hormones. So, first, when we say hormones, most of us, and I used to think this way, we're associating menopause with hormones, right? Most of us do that. Most doctors do that. And honestly, first you got to think of, well, which hormone? We associate menopause and estrogen. And that's true because once you go through menopause, that's when estrogen just shuts off. You barely have any, and you look at supplementing estrogen. But women, we can lose up to 50% of our testosterone before age 40,
Wow.
starting in our mid 20s, especially with a couple pregnancy cycles. And some of the symptoms that show declining testosterone is fatigue, poor sleep, increased weight gain, harder to lose weight, joint pain, brain fog, anxiety, depression, irritability, mood swings, night sweats, not necessarily hot flashes, because that could be two different hormones. And yet we're all thinking it's just part of getting older. I'm not in menopause yet, so it can't be my hormones. And that's where a lot of doctors get it wrong, and a lot of times we get it wrong. So it depends on which hormone. Testosterone is the most abundant hormone in a woman's lifetime, more than estrogen. Thyroid could be another one, hugely connected to your metabolism, thinning hair, outer third of your eyebrows thinning, dry skin, brittle nails, constipation, cold all the time, heat temperature tolerance, could be thyroid, which can happen at any age. So really it's what are your symptoms? What hormone could that be associated with? Regardless if your labs come up normal within reference range or not. Normal's not optimal, right? Where you feel and function your best is what's optimal for you. So finding a doctor's able to do that. So really, I guess it could depend on any age. Typically, the majority, there's always outliers. Late 20s is when women starting to have some of those symptoms should take a look at where the hormones are starting to decline.
Okay, so to get tested for that, they would have to go to their doctor, or do you do that kind of testing, Julie, in some way?
So I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach, but I'm not a licensed physician. So I can't order labs. However, there are a couple lab companies that I am affiliated with that you don't have to have a physician order your labs for you. So if you go to your physician and ask for specific lab tests, and we can get into that a little bit, and they're willing to order them and your insurance covers it, that would be the way to go. Most of the time, what I have found, depending on the type of physician you work with, they're not ordering all the right type of tests. So sometimes you might need to look outside of your insurance at a resource that can take any lab test you want and you choose because it's your body. But most of the time, it's going to be a cash.
Mm. And again, you can advise women and men what lab tests to have to find out what they need to find out, presumably having spoken with them and done a sort
I
of
can assist with
discovery.
that. Yes, there is a
Yeah,
company that, like I said, I'm
yeah.
affiliated with that have physicians on staff that will take any tests that you choose as an individual.
Mm. Fantastic. Okay, so we spoke right at the beginning when I was introducing you that you've got a system, FLABB, FLAB. So it doesn't sound very elegant.
Right, right.
However, explain more about FLAB and how you can help with all of those things, because I'm sure ears pricked up when people heard that that's what you can help with.
Yes. So the most common symptoms that I keep hearing and have heard for years from most women is fatigue, low libido, anxiety, brain fog, and belly fat as we age. So I'm big on acronyms. So I'm like a flab. No one wants to feel flabby. And yes, it stands for a lot of things. So not that there's not more, but those are just the majority symptoms that
Mm.
I hear complaining of as we age. And any of, well, testosterone can help with a lot of those. Thyroid can help. Estrogen can help. Progesterone can help. Vitamin D, certain probiotics, some other supplements can help with that. So it is honing in on which symptoms you're feeling,
Mhm.
You do need to look at, before you supplement, you should, in my opinion, look at your lab test to see where your baseline is. Where are you at? And then if it seems right, if it's the right choice for you, to work with a physician who can prescribe those certain types of hormones to help optimize, to help reduce those symptoms without unnecessary medication.
Okay. So I'm going to just ask you about one of those then, something
Okay.
like belly fat, because
Yeah.
I know from the experience with women that I work with, belly fat is one of those that, and it's different, isn't it, than the rest of the kind of the fat that we have. And
Mhm.
I have heard from doctors that it's actually an easier fat to shift. So is that your experience as well, Julie? And how do the hormones work with if somebody came to you and just went, I'm okay with everything else, it's just this belly fat I can't get rid of?
Sure. I have not heard that before from doctors saying that it's the easiest fat to shift. Typically, I hear the opposite, and maybe that's American versus in the UK. So, a lot of questions that would come up for me to be able to ask to individualize that type of opportunity for that patient or that client.
Mm.
So, it could be depending on your age, right? Where are you at in your age, and possibly with cycles with women? And why I ask that is, we typically will lose testosterone, start to decline testosterone first. Then during that perimenopause phase, which could start in our 30s, typically in our 40s, we might have irregular menses, right? We might skip a period. We might have different heavy to light flows, just different, right? Than what
Mm.
used to be consistent. That's when we typically will start losing progesterone. And that's where estrogen is spotty, it's spiky. We're starting to lose it. And then our body says, we know we're low. So our follicle stimulating hormone FSH goes up high to stimulate the ovaries to produce more estrogen. And then we get this blast of estrogen. And then we fall, so we get these rise and falls. So sometimes, and then when we get to menopause, when we've lost probably majority of our testosterone, lost probably all of our progesterone, and then lost all of our estrogen, we have three different types of estrogens: estrone, estradiol, and estriol. And estradiol is the powerhouse estrogen that helps and can help reduce the visceral fat. So when it comes to belly fat, there's really two types. Visceral fat is what's around, as you know, the organs, and that's really the dangerous fat, right? We don't want that. It's under the muscle layer. The subcutaneous fat's on top of the muscle layer. That's what we can pinch, right? Someone who has a lot of visceral fat it looks pregnant, like a tummy, like almost the beer belly. The guys with the beer belly, it's hard, it's tight, right? It's not on top of the muscle, it's underneath the muscle, but that's the dangerous fat. So when we lose estrogen, specifically that estradiol, the powerhouse estrogen, our fat cells can also produce estrogen, but most of the time they produce estrone, which is a weaker hormone. So typically what some women might see shifting through that pre to peri to menopause is where you had more fat on your hips and your waist maybe was a little smaller. And now those fat cells are trying to make up for this loss, in lack of a better way to say it, and swelling and producing more estrone, or the fat cells start to swell around that midsection. So when we can optimize that estrogen and those hormones correctly, a lot of times what we'll see is that waistline starts to calm down and it goes back to where we were before. And then thyroid is such a huge thing when it comes to metabolism and being able to keep our muscle strength, fat down, how we metabolize, but then also it goes into cortisol and stress and so many things that can counteract that. So I guess I could just keep going on forever when you talk about the belly fat, but it really does depend on where you're at, what you've been doing, and just a lot of questions to be able to work with you one-on-one, as you know.
Yeah, but that's so fascinating because I never knew there were three types of estrogen. I had no idea. So that's fascinating. And that one of them is like a powerhouse, but is perhaps less likely for the body to make up and do that spike is,
Mhm.
yeah, incredible. Okay, love that. You have also, I know, 8 different areas of health that you work on. So it's not
Mhm.
just physical health, and it's not just about the hormones. It's about emotional and mental and social and occupational and
Mhm.
environmental. So
Mhm.
what would you say your passion is on all of those? Because you generally get an area that's like, I love talking about that bit about health.
Yes, for sure. Hormones is my powerhouse and passion, because to perform best in our job, in our life, in our relationships, we need the energy, we need the focus, the brain focus. We need to feel good in our own skin. But I also teach on 8 dimensions of what I believe are 8 dimensions of wellness, because it's never just one thing, right? It's multiple things. When people ask, I'll ask people, what do you need to do to be fit, right? To stay healthy. It's not just exercise. It's not just eat well. It's not just sleep and manage. It's a multitude of things.
Mm.
So my 8 dimensions of wellness that I educate on is, yes, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever you believe in, something greater, physical, of course, and then yes, occupational, financial, environmental, and even social. And probably the biggest question people go like, occupational and financial, what does that have to do with health?
Huh?
Everything, right?
It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it's expensive to eat healthy. With insurance, in my opinion, especially in the US, we have a sick care model, right? It is not a healthcare model. We call it healthcare, and it's more expensive to get what you need versus what insurance companies think you need, which they're
Mm.
not physicians. And that's a whole other pedestal I won't go on. So you need financial income to be able to pay for the certain things to stay healthy. Number one, stress is usually around finances, right? If we're stressed out all the time, our cortisol goes up, we're not losing weight, we're gaining weight, we're not sleeping well, we're not feeling healthy. So the opportunities that I have and I work with other people to increase their finances through health and wellness is something that I'm really passionate about as well.
It's so interesting because everything affects everything and everything affects everything else. So that
Yeah,
when you're looking at the financial side, of course you're going to get stressed if your finances are low and they're not high enough to cover the things that you need to, like you
mhm,
say, go and get your supplements, go and get your health checked, stay in a healthy eating environment.
that's
So
right.
it all links together. And then you also spoke about occupational health. So dive a little bit more into that, because I know occupational therapists and they
Yes.
have an expansive range of things that they do. So share how that links in with all of this, Julie.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I actually worked in occupational therapy for a little bit too in the hospital. We spend the majority of our lives working and doing whatever it is that we're doing for income. And more than half of the people in America, anyway, statistics that I've seen, are not happy in their own jobs.
Mm.
So if you're not happy and you're stressed out and maybe you have anxiety or you're depressed, how else is that going to roll over into your home life, into your relationships? It's the inner web. So finding out to someone, what is it do you really want? It's really easy to ask someone what you don't want. They'll tell you in a heartbeat. They'll make a list. I don't want this. I don't want that, and then you ask, well, what do you want? Like, well, it's a pause most of the time. So really finding out what you want and why you want it and what steps you can do to get it.
Mm. Yeah, that's so huge. It's one of the things that I teach on is finding and redefining your purpose, especially again for women, and then
Yes, I
using
love
those
that.
peak performance strategies. So it is, and again, it's very holistic. So understanding if you're in a place where you're not feeling good in your job, you're not feeling good in yourself, something doesn't feel right, and you're dragging yourself out of bed maybe and not wanting to go to work, not wanting to do what you've done for the last 20, 30, 40 years, it's okay. You can change. You're a
That's
human
right.
being. It's like
That's right.
you can wake up
Yes.
to that and you can get help. And either find somebody in your area or you can find Julie. All of Julie's details will be below in the description box so that you can find Julie really easily and have a chat with her and find out if she is your gal to help you to get through what you're going through. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I could do with that, oh my goodness, I could do something there, but you're stopping yourself, it's definitely time to do something and take action on that. So, somebody who may be saying, well, I've tried everything to lose weight, Julie, I mean, I've just tried everything. I've done this diet, that diet, high carb, low carb, high protein, all of them. And I just can't lose weight. Can you help someone like that?
I've got a lot of questions for that person.
Of course.
I would, well, when someone usually says, I've tried everything, I ask, what is everything? And typically I'll get maybe one or two things, but maybe there's more, three, four, or five, like you stated. But diet is just what we eat and on a consistent basis, right? It's not going on a diet. I hate that term, going on a diet. But any diet that's out there, like you said, high protein, low carb, paleo, keto, whatever it is, they all work. They all work, but only for a certain time period for most people, right? Most of them are not sustainable or long-term. And we want long-term weight loss, right? When we go on these yo-yo diets and roller coasters and lose weight, gain it all back, lose weight, gain it all back, we're actually going up in weight over time instead of down in weight over time, losing muscle and gaining more fat. So really it's finding out what I call your magic plate. And I lose belly fat cleanse. It's an elimination diet to find out what foods work for you. Because again, it needs to be individualized. You're only you. The only person on this planet is you. So therefore, what works for someone else doesn't mean that it would work for you. It might, but it doesn't mean it. So for example, working with a client before, she was really trying to increase her vegetable intake, but she was just not feeling as good, like gassy, and asked her, what are you eating? Kind of, I see your log. And she was eating a lot of asparagus, which asparagus is a healthy food, right?
Yeah.
But the amount she was eating was not healthy for her. So we backed off on that a little bit, increased somewhere else, and she felt a lot better. So in this elimination diet, you've got to figure out what foods work for you. And it's not eliminating allergic foods. If you know you're allergic, then don't have them. But a lot of times it's the foods that you might have a sensitivity to that you don't know you do. So for some of you that might get congestion, or you think you're getting a cold or hay fever, maybe you're getting allergies all of a sudden, maybe it's actually your food. So going through an elimination diet and eliminating the simple things. It is not a reduced calorie diet. It is eat as much as you want, but it's eating the right foods. So it's single ingredient foods, eliminating the crap, right? Basically all the toxins, but also the most common irritant foods. And then after a week, 10 days, we reintroduce, which you get to choose, one at a time. And you document how you feel. And then we clean the slate. And then we enter in another one. You document how you feel. We clean the slate until you've reintroduced each food to find out. You're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that my body doesn't like these type of foods, And then we might look at why, and do we need to heal the gut? Are there other things, other supplements you need? But then you can figure out what is your magic plate. And then you get to go on to a protein type of document that you find out what types of proteins are right for you, how much protein is right for you. Because the other thing I see, the most common mistake for women is not enough protein intake on a daily amount.
Yeah. No, I see that as well. And it's so important to get that balance right. If you want to feel at your best, if you're looking to feel at your level 10, if you're looking to work at your level 10, is the way that I look at sort of moving towards peak performance and how good you can be. You mentioned there the gut. Well, if you've got all of that magic food, that magic plate that you're talking about going into you, your gut is absolutely going to love you. And your gut talks to your brain and your brain talks to your gut, and you've got that lovely two-way street, and it's talking happy talk. And so you're going to feel better. You're going to perform better. Everything affects everything else, just like you were saying. So is there anything else that you would like to leave the audience with, Julie, if they're wondering where to get started? Perhaps what might your 3 top tips be?
Oh gosh, 3 top tips.
If they're not feeling great within themselves, if they know they're not feeling at their level 10 and they want to, and somebody's sitting there, well, where do I start?
Well, I have a 3-step proprietary process, and that's another acronym, because I think we want a lot, but we deserve a lot. So LOT, we want to lose belly fat cleanse. So eliminate some of the toxins and the processed foods, go to single ingredient foods to figure out what foods work for you, right? The O is optimizing your hormones. figure out what symptoms you have and associate which hormones that could be declining, and possibly get labs, work with a doctor that is open to discussing that. And then to use that transformation, which looks at the 8 dimensions of wellness. So figuring out in all those 8 dimensions, where are you at in a scale from 1 to 10? So which areas do you want to improve upon, focus on, to have a more high performing, life that you love and want to live? So, and I know you do amazing work with that, Lucy. So it's been a blessing to be able to work with you and know you.
Ah, well, absolutely the same, because we really complement each other and can help so many people, right? And I think they're great 3 top tips, because that's like a self-assessment that someone can do and then go, oh, these are the areas. Now I know where I'm starting from. I just need to find somebody, and I can reach out to Julie, or I could reach out to Lucy, or I can reach out to somebody else. If we're not in the right place or we're not the right people, that's absolutely fine. So Julie, where can people find out about you? I know I'm going to put all the descriptions in the box below. Where's the best place for people to find out more about you?
Sure. The company that I have is called Pro Health Share. So I collaborate with professionals in health to share to the community to enhance our lives for a better quality of life. So people can also go to prohealthshare.com, which is on the homepage, or it's /lose weight. There's actually 3 different free downloadables if they would like. The document, if they're interested in, is called How to Lose Weight When Nothing Else is Working. And it just discusses what I call CPDR, the cephalic phase digestive response, and how we eat, and how, when and how we eat, how much that can affect the hormones, the hunger hormones and the satiety hormones, the ghrelin and leptin, to help us feel fuller and longer. You don't have to do anything other than pay attention to what you're doing while you're eating.
Yeah. And if somebody's listening and thinking, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll get that free document, don't treat it as free. Treat it as something that's really very, very valuable, because how often have you downloaded a document and you thought, oh yeah, that's free, I'll look at that sometime. So
Love that.
if you want to find out, download it, read it, take it on board, and really value it, take value from what Julie is sharing. So one very last question, Julie, before we head off. Is there anything left on your heart that you would like to share with our audience today?
Just how grateful I am. I'm grateful for you, Lucy. I'm grateful for the work that you do. I'm grateful for all your listeners. I feel that we need to strengthen each other, right? All boats rise together. So if you're interested in this, or you know someone, a friend, a coworker, sister, your mom, who like, you know what, I wonder if that's something that could be helpful for them. Let's empower each other, right? Let's raise each other up. Let's hold each other high, and let's be a healthier world together. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
I absolutely second that. I love that, Julie. Thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners for listening in. Thank you, Julie, for taking the time out of your business to share this really valuable information. And there will be another video coming up on screen. So if you want to hear more and digest some more, then please do. I'll see you over there. In the meantime, have a fabulous day, and bye from myself and bye from Julie. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.